Hey guys, and welcome to Dragon Blood Studios history video. Today, I'm going to be talking about what happened to televisions during World War II, and where did they go? Now, entertainment is something we as humans crave. We look for something to catch our attention for a little bit, it doesn't matter what. Luckily, TVs help satisfy that craving. Whether it be a funny cartoon playing, news anchors telling us that the world's going to end, or learning something new about an animal that we've never really known. It's super easy to turn on a TV and get the results we're looking for. But for the citizens of America back in 1941, it wasn't so easy. Apparently, they weren't allowed to have their precious TVs due to the war. World War II. All television development and viewing were banned during those times. But why? Well, I guess in order for me to answer that question, I must first begin by explaining where the television came from and how it was first starting out. Now, televisions didn't start out with those high-definition 40-inch screens that we see today. No, they started out as a rotating disc with a small screen. Something kind of similar to this. Kind of funky, huh? These TVs weren't very popular and were barely seen in anybody's home. Unfortunately, there isn't much information on them. Probably due to the lack of use. But sometime in 1927, a young inventor was going to change that. According to B Business Ed, Philo Tyler Farnsworth was a far advanced thinker for his time. He started creating an electrical television back when he was still in high school and had improved the design over the years. When he reached his early 20s, he started to have the TV to be produced in better numbers. Now, the reason I need to go over this is because it will help explain later the disappearance of the TVs during World War II. But I'm going to only explain how the electrical televisions work as opposed to the mechanical ones. In the electrical TVs, they use small little tubes known as cathode ray tubes, or CRT for short. The tubes were filled by the cathodes, which was just a heated filament. The cathodes would release negative electronic charge beams that would want to attract something positive. That happened to be anodes, which was just the screen of the television. And at very rapid speeds, the CRTs would show an image onto the screen by flashing in rhythmic flows, thus allowing the screen to display the image. For that time, that's some insane technology if you ask me. Today, TVs have long replaced the CRT system and replaced it with a liquid crystal display, LCD. But if you want to learn more about that, I suggest looking it up yourself, because unfortunately, I am only going to continue in 1940. Around 1928, though, television was beginning to be used by what I'm calling entertainment creators, because during that time, television filmmakers didn't exist. These entertainers created what was most likely the first television program. It was called The Queen's Messenger. The show was based on a play that was made that same year, and was a radio drama as well. The show was recorded like a play, and not like a movie that had been seen by audiences before. However, the show only played in few people's homes, so it's questioned if it's a TV show at all. However, many of the upstarting television networks had seen it and were inspired. Afterwards, many new TV networks started emerging for consumers to use in just a few short years. Later in 1939, at a World Fair, the first television was revealed to the people of Flushing, New York. People were ecstatic by it and couldn't wait for it to invade their homes. Then later on December 7th of 1941, the first major news story was released about Pearl Harbor's destruction. And then all of a sudden, TVs disappeared. The companies didn't release any information to the public, and they stopped manufacturing them. Only so many few televisions remained, but they didn't have any entertainment for the people. Not to say movies were gone, but TV was, and thus was a new depressing era. Technically, TVs didn't disappear. It just looks that way if you read brief summaries of articles. Luckily, I'm here to combine them all. I believe I found out where TVs went. According to earlytelevision.org, TVs went to help the war, as well as their creators. They were then creating what I assumed to be the first drones. What the inventors made were remote-controlled wooden glide bombers known as gloms. I think that's how you pronounce it. These small things were a part of B-17s and were used to accurately land on their targets. Unfortunately, most of them often missed. They operated with two individuals, one who used a television camera, and another who flew the glom. The gloms were created with a camera attached to them along with a receiver, and the operators would have their television screen to see where the glom was going. They used their own network so that way the gloms could send their image back to the operators. Now what about those CRTs? Like the cathodes? Well, it isn't much, but according to livinghistoryfarm.org, the CRTs were now reproduced for pictures for radar and, quote, high-tech war uses, end quote. My guess is that it's referring back to the gloms. There's not much on it, so it can only mean the gloms and possibly the screens that were used for them. Or maybe something else. Unfortunately, there aren't very many sites that give a reason why. If you find one, please let me know. I myself would like to know if the cathodes were used for other uses besides what I'm assuming. Well, of course, after World War II, everyone wanted a TV in their home. They wanted to have some entertainment in a comfy, warm, safe environment, and they got what they asked for. But not for a little while later. After the war, the television creators had to recreate their lost invention in order to give the public what they wanted. It took them a few years to get the televisions back in action. But by 1950, many televisions had invaded into people's homes, and they had about 100 different television stations to choose from. Shows that started to air by those times had titles such as The Lone Ranger in 1950, I Love Lucy in 1951, The Ed Sullivan Show in 1955, and so many others in between. People were thoroughly enjoying themselves in America with their newfound technology, and it would only get better. TVs had a rough start. They were born, they died, and reborn again all within a few decades. The poor TVs and their creators had to be repurposed for war before they could go and give the world hope and peace. I wonder if televisions would have undergone the same hype and experience if the war hadn't happened. Of course, the Great Depression before that is probably what gave the spark to create these ingenious things. So the experience of owning a TV may have been the same. But I do think that the brokenness of the war is what brought the television meaning. Although America didn't have it worse though, some of the European countries had to have their experience of the war much more worse. I can only imagine what they could have been. But I guess that's a research topic, either for another time or for another person. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. I mean, I'm probably not going to be making more videos like this. This is a school project, but I will be making videos for this channel, probably other movies and other things of that nature. If you like the content, or you just like me, go ahead, subscribe. I would not mind. And other than that, have a great day.